To set up the game, give each player a player board and decide amongst yourselves if you are going to be playing with the colorless side or the color side. Whichever side you choose, all players must play with that side. For the sake of this tutorial, I will be using the colored side. Give each player a scoring marker and place it on the 0 space of their scoring track. Each player will have their own scoring track on their boards. Place a certain number of factory displays out in the middle of the play area depending on the number of players. For a 4-player game like I'm setting up for here, I will be placing out all 9 of the tiles. Make sure the tile bag is filled with all the tiles that come in the game except for the first player marker. Determine which of the players had most recently visited Portugal and give that player the first player marker. The first player will then reach into the bag without looking and pull out 4 tiles from the bag and place them on each of the factory tiles. Any unused player boards and player score markers can be returned to the box as they will not be used for this game. Once you have done everything that has been previously stated, you are ready to begin. In Azul, the players are taking on the roles of tile-laying artists, attempting to best embellish the walls of the royal palace of Evora. The game takes place over several rounds, each round comprising of 3 phases: the factory offer, the tile laying, and preparation. Each round starts with the factory offer phase. The factory offer phase begins with the starting player taking the first player marker and placing it into the center of the playing area. Then, starting with the first player and going around clockwise, each player will be going around collecting tiles from the factory area. They can do this in one of 2 ways. They can either grab all of the tiles that are the same color from one of the factory displays, or they can grab all of the tiles of the same color from the center of the playing area. One thing to note though is that on your turn, you must take tiles. You cannot choose to pass. If you would like to take tiles from one of the factory displays, you will choose one of the factory displays and grab all of the tiles from one of the colors that are on that display and place them in front of you. The remaining tiles that are on that factory display will then be placed in the center of the playing area. You will then immediately add all of the tiles that you have grabbed to one of the 5 pattern lines of your player board. Each pattern line can only hold a certain amount of tiles. The first one holding 1, 2, and so on. When you choose a pattern line to place your tiles in, you will go from right to left, placing them one at a time in that line. One thing to note is that as soon as you place tiles in that pattern line, then the only tiles that can be placed in that line in the future are ones of the same color until that line is filled. If you ended up picking more tiles than you needed to complete a pattern line, any extra tiles that you had placed in that pattern line will then be placed on the floor line. I'll explain what the floor line does a little bit later. If you would like to take tiles from the center area, once again, you will choose a color and take all of the tiles that have that color and place them on your player board. Once again, choosing a pattern line and placing all of the tiles that you have grabbed one at a time from right to left in the chosen pattern line. There is one difference, however, when taking tiles from the center area. Whenever you choose to claim tiles from the center area, the remaining tiles that are in there will stay there. One other difference is that if you were the first player to take tiles from the center area, you will also claim the first player marker, which you will then place in the leftmost space available on your floor line. One thing to note is that you are not allowed to, at any point, place tiles onto a pattern line where that matching tile is already in position on that line of the wall. For example, since this yellow tile is already on this line of the wall, I would not be allowed to take these 3 yellow tiles and place it in this pattern line. Like I said before, any tiles that you've picked that you cannot place or do not want to place onto your pattern line will be placed on your floor line. These tiles are considered to have fallen on the floor and will lose you points during the wall tiling phase, which I will get to in a moment. If your floor line is ever full up with tiles, any extra tiles that you have to place into the floor line will simply be placed back into the lid of the box to store them for now. The factory offer phase ends when the final tiles have been taken from the center of the play area. Once all of the tiles are gone, you will then move into the wall tiling phase. The wall tiling phase can be carried out by all players simultaneously. To do this, simply look at all of your pattern lines going from top to bottom and take the rightmost tile from all of your completed lines and place it in the appropriate position on the wall. For example, this pattern line was filled, so I would take this tile and place it in its appropriate spot. This pattern line was filled, so I'll take this tile and place it here. This line is filled, so I'll place this tile here. These two are not filled, so no tiles will be moved from these two lines. Each time you get to move a tile over to its appropriate spot, you will score points for that tile immediately, which I'll get to in a moment. Once you have taken all of the tiles that you can off of the rightmost space, any of the remaining tiles that are in the rows with no rightmost tile will then be taken off the board and be placed back into the lid of the box for storage for now. Once that is done, any tiles that remain on your player board will stay on your player board for the next round. Whenever you move a tile from your pattern line to its matching space on your main scoreboard, you will score that tile immediately. You will look at the tile and are all the tiles that are potentially around it. If there are no tiles around the tile that you have placed, then you will score 1 point for that tile. Anytime you score points, you immediately move it that many points on your score track, whether it is for good or for ill. If you place a tile onto its appropriate spot and there are tiles adjacent to it, you will score in the following way. First, you will check if there are any tiles horizontally linked to the tile that you have just placed, including the tile that you have just placed. You will then score that many points. For example, if I were to take this tile and place it here, I will score 1 point for this tile, and I will also score 2 more points since these two tiles are directly linked to the tile that I have placed. In this example, I then placed the tile, and I have 2 tiles linked to it over here horizontally, and 1 tile linked to it horizontally over here. So, including the tile that I have placed, I will score 4 points for this horizontal row. Next, check to see if there are any tiles linked vertically to the tile that you have placed. If so, count how many tiles are linked to the newly placed tile, including the newly placed tile, and score that many points. For example, I have placed this tile here, and there is this tile up here, and that is directly connected to the newly placed tile, so I will gain 2 points for this tile vertically. In another example, I have taken this tile and placed it here, but there are no tiles linked to it horizontally or vertically, so I will score just 1 point. In another example, let's say I have scored this tile and I place it here, which is where it's supposed to go. You will notice that there are 1 tile that is linked to it horizontally and 2 tiles linked to it vertically. So that would mean I would get 2 points horizontally and 3 points vertically for a total of 5 points for scoring this tile. Finally, look on the floor line on your player board and lose points for each tile that is in your floor line. For each tile that is in your floor line, you will lose the amount of points that is listed directly above that tile. For example, I only have this tile in my floor line, so I will lose 1 point, adjusting the score marker accordingly. In another example, if I had these tiles in my floor line, I would lose 1, 2, 4, 6 total points. from the tiles in my floor line. However, you can never drop below 0 points. Finally, remove all of the tiles from the floor line and place them back into the lid of the box for storage for now. One thing to note is that if you have the first player marker in your floor line, it counts as a tile in your floor line, but instead of putting it back in the box at the end of scoring, you will simply take that tile and place it in front of you. If after scoring, nobody has completed a horizontal line on their player boards, you will then prepare for the next round. To do this, the player with the first player marker will take that and place it back into the center of the playing area, and then refill each of the factory displays by drawing 4 tiles out of the bag and placing them on each of the factory displays. If while refilling the factory displays you run out of tiles in the bag, take all the tiles that have been placed back in the lid of the box and place them back in the bag, and then continue refilling the factory displays. Once all the factory displays have been refilled, you will start a new round starting with the player who had the first player marker. In the rare case that you run out of tiles in the bag and there are no tiles in the lid of the box, start a new round as usual, even if that means not all the factory displays will be filled. The game ends after the wall tiling phase if at least one player has at least one full horizontal row of 5 continuous tiles on their wall. When the game ends, you will score bonus points if the following objectives have been completed. You will score 2 bonus points for each complete horizontal row. You will score 7 points for each complete vertical row, and you will get 10 points for each color that you have all 5 of their tiles on your wall. For example, this player would get 4 bonus points for these 2 horizontal rows. They will also get 7 points for this vertical row, and they will get 10 points because they have all 5 tiles for red on their wall, meaning every single row on their wall has at least 1 red tile. Whoever has the most points on their score track is the winner. If there is a tie, whoever has the most horizontal rows complete is the winner, and if there's still a tie, then the tied players will share the win. There is a variant you can play where you play as this colorless side. The colorless side plays exactly the same as the normal side, but with one key difference. Whenever you move a tile from your pattern line to the wall, you can place it in any spot along that row that you choose. However, you cannot have more than 1 tile of the same color in any of the rows or the columns. Basically, you are not allowed to have duplicates. There is a special case when playing on the colorless side during the wall tiling phase. It may be possible that you may not end up having a spot that is available to place a certain tile because it would not be considered valid. For example, I filled this pattern line with blue, but I can't place it here because there's already a blue in this column, but that is the only space that I can place it. If this were to happen, you must then place all of the tiles in that pattern line onto your floor line. And that's everything you need to know in order to play Azul. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a big thumbs up. If you want to know my thoughts on Azul, or if you want more videos, make sure you subscribe to the channel for more tutorials, reviews, and unboxings. Thank you all as always so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.